Dean Rusk disagrees with you, and he was the Secretary of State at the time, but that's fine.
The communist nations have exploited the turmoil of a time of transition in an effort to extend the communist control into other areas of the world.
Thoughts on Dean Rusk and America's involvement in Vietnam? I know next to nothing about that.
Exactly.
All she did for the past week was gaslight the public, and by definition, that's what it is. Gaslight her audience, gaslight the public. Netanyahu lied. They shot him in the throat because they're taking his voice. I have all these receipts, but I'm not going to publish them. And then literally a week later, she's going to put on Twitter, oh, I never said they were behind it. I never said that at all. I just strongly implied it. We all know what you said. We all know what you meant. You dummy. You irresponsible, grifting dummy. I've so had it with that. And at the end of the day, she's just stupid and defines low IQ anti-Semitism. I used to think it didn't exist. I used to think that low IQ anti-Semitism is just something that Jewish people would say to counter the rising tide of people acknowledging Jewish power. Now I'm convinced it's real, and it has a name. That name is Candace Owens Farmer. Low IQ anti-Semitism. The idea that Charlie Kirk was silenced for being about to go against Israel, it's just, on its face, absurd and ridiculous. And so anyway, all those people that said, oh, Nick got the call, Nick's really afraid right now. Believe you me, when we get back to our regularly scheduled programming next week, when we have processed everything having to do with this horrific assassination, rest assured we will be talking about the Middle East conflict. I have not changed my views even slightly, not even in a minute way, not at all. The idea that Israel's number one cheerleader on the right wing was somehow killed by Israel, sorry, not buying it. And the people promulgating that idea, they're not even saying that. Tucker's not saying that. Candace isn't saying that. They're just weirdly implying it. And I wonder why that is. Releasing no evidence. And I would reiterate, this is the last thing I'll say before we move on. You know, Candace Owens made a very specific claim. She said that Charlie Kirk sent a letter to Netanyahu, and she said that Netanyahu held up that letter when he eulogized Charlie Kirk in the news the day of. She said, and he mischaracterized the contents of the letter. She said, and if he keeps doing that, I'll reveal the letter. You need to reveal the letter. Show us what you have. Once again, if you have any integrity at all, or if you care at all about your journalistic credibility, you have to release the information. Do not hide. Do not backpedal. Do not gaslight now that you got called on your bullshit, dummy. Now that you got called on your nonsense, show us what you have. Not behind a paywall, not next week on Becoming Brigitte, not next on our next season. No cliffhangers, please. No grifting. Well, subscribe and then you gain it. No. You need to put out the letter. Where is the letter? Where is the letter that Charlie Kirk sent to Netanyahu that you say Netanyahu mischaracterized? Show us the letter. Scan it, put it on Twitter immediately. Otherwise, you're a joke.
You know, there's a lot to say about Mr. Fuentes in general, but he's recently called Candace Owens a conspiracy theorist for trying to push that Israel killed Charlie Kirk, which is ridiculous. I'm just surprised that the group of people that he associates with, the audience that he's culled, that he finds it shocking that they wouldn't believe that any major event wasn't caused by the Jews. I don't think that he is a non-believer and a fraud when he pushes like 9/11 conspiracy theories. I think he's, I don't want to use the term terminally online, I don't know how else to say it, that he's from meme culture. I think in his circles, it's just accepted as truth that you somehow have your eyes opened, and that you're telling the truth if you start spouting ridiculous 9/11 conspiracy theories, blaming the Jews because there was 5 dancing guys on a building, which would make them not in the plane if they were dancing. I mean, even if the conspiracy is true, and no, they never admitted on any news publication anywhere that they were Mossad agents. That's false. You're still admitting that Muslims flew the planes into the buildings. You're just saying that the Jews either knew about it or funded it. But Muslims still, the Romans should have some culpability in killing Christ, despite the Jewish conspiracy to get it done. They have blood on their hands. If the Arabs are flying planes into they're still doing it. So I don't know how this absolves them in any way. And many would say they don't seek to absolve them, that they both can go suck an egg. But I don't know why he's so shocked that his audience, who he knows pretty well, wouldn't blame every major incident as a false flag created by the state of Israel. That's all they've been doing. I'm not saying he's responsible for this, but he should have seen this coming. And yes, it is ridiculous that Charlie Kirk, the pro-Israel guy, was killed for not being pro-Israel enough. I think what JFK conspiracy tards learned was that if they just flooded bookstores and newspapers and television stations with enough bullshit, they could cast doubt into the American people's minds. All of a sudden, after JFK, everybody became a forensic fucking psychologist, a bullet expert. Just like during COVID, everybody was a fucking doctor. And just like 9/11, all of a sudden, everybody was a fucking engineer. Can't argue bullet points with you, but there's a couple of things that don't make sense when it comes to certain conspiracies. JFK was killed by a pro-communist, pro-Castro, ex-Russian expatriate. Oswald went to go live in Russia because he thought communism was the answer, and he was such a bad communist, a place where nobody really worked, that they threw him out. And yes, you'll see in the FBI files that the federal agencies interviewed him because he was an expatriate who just came back from Russia, married a Russian woman in Russia. He also attempted to kill a different politician whose views he didn't agree with. He failed that time. How do you equate that with your timeline? The biggest problem is that he ends up in that book's depository because of his wife's family. He couldn't get a job. He couldn't hold down a job. His wife's family finally gets him that job. So then his wife's family would have to be involved with putting him in that building, which is impossible. As far as 9/11 goes, you would have to ignore all of Al-Qaeda's prior attacks on the United States, pre-9/11, and claim that all of them were inside jobs in order for that to work. You'd have to ignore the Khobar Towers, the bombings in Tangier, in Africa, the USS Cole, the 93 World Trade Center bombing. Ramzi Youssef, the guy who did the 93 World Trade Center bombing, his uncle is Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the mastermind of 9/11. That's his uncle. You want to talk about, I don't buy the official story? The 9/11 Commission report doesn't mention, it mentions the 93 World Trade Center bombing in a sentence. Yeah, so that official story is fucked up. You want to say, I don't believe the official story. Yeah, that part of the official story is fucked up. Now, I'm not giving you anything like, I'm an engineer and I can tell you that buildings don't fall this way and building 7 couldn't have possibly. I'm just telling you that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and Ramzi Youssef are related, and that Al-Qaeda attacked the United States interests many, many years before 9/11. All of those would have to be inside jobs. And you know what? The conspiracy industrial complex hasn't yet caught up to every single one of Al-Qaeda's incidents to call them Jewish yet. They will, given enough time. Just like when you ask them, hey, were the Boston Marathon bombers, were they Jewish? They don't answer right now, but I'm sure, given enough time, there will be some kind of loose change documentary that will claim that in fact they are Jewish. I've heard conspiracy theorists say that bin Laden was Jewish, or some kind of weird agent. It's just so stupid. I don't think Nick doesn't believe these things. I think he comes from a culture, I don't want to, again, in an echo chamber where this is just accepted. Nobody in that room ever dares raise their hand and say, this sounds stupid. This is not the Jews. This is erratic. No one can be honest anymore and say, I understand that the Muslims attacked us on 9/11. I still don't want us involved in the Middle East. For some reason, we have to take away the United States' moral high ground for getting involved in the Middle East when we are attacked. You can make arguments like our involvement in the Middle East from, the 53 coup of Mossadegh in Iran, as if, the Middle East, the United States and the Middle East policy starts in 53, or that the entire Middle East starts in 48, and it doesn't. You can make the arguments that American policy has caused some kind of weird backlash. I would disagree with that, considering that when we armed the Mujahideen to get rid of the Soviet Union, what we should have got is a thank you. That's not us getting involved in foreign affairs in Muslim countries. That's us saving them. They don't want to be saved. They did. We armed them to defeat the Soviet Union. We're supposed to know that these morons are then going to attack us? Why would we think that? This is us being diplomatic. This is us being nice. This is us working with these people. Here, go kill the Soviets. They're our enemy. They're your enemy. Take them out. We didn't train them to fly civilian airliners into buildings. I think conspiracies that are bullshit have moved a lot faster because of the internet. But it takes a critical mind to just not see something that looks visually stunning, like loose change the first time you watch it, and go, I have discovered the truth that's being hidden from me. I watched a 10-part documentary series. It was actually 2 seasons on, the fuck was his name? Whatever the fuck his name was. He went away to prison for committing, he falsely went away to prison the first time for committing a rape that he never did. Then he gets out and they find the body. It's on Netflix. 10 years chasing a murderer or some shit. 10 years of murder or some shit. So when you watch this film, this docuseries, you think, oh shit, he was set up by the cops. They find a second body in his gravel pit. This is after he was released from prison, when he was falsely imprisoned. Then a body shows up in his burn pit on his property. Now, if you watch the series, it's very visually stunning. It's very convincing. It's made by, his defense lawyers down by the fucking, I forget what they're called. They're a group of people, the Innocence Project. And these people always, if you're being defended by the Innocence Project, it's kind of like when Al Sharpton takes a side on an issue. Just take the opposite side and you'll probably be correct on the issue. If the Innocence Project is getting involved, the person that they're probably talking about is guilty, because that's just what seems to be the case. They seem to want to destroy the justice system by using the justice system. They make a mockery out of the justice system by defending guilty people. But when I read the book by the prosecutor, and I read a book by an individual who wrote about Avery, that was his name, who went away to, when he wrote about when he went away to prison the first time, he wrote a book about the miscarriage of justice, about him being sent away for a crime he didn't commit. And then he wrote about the second trial for the girl that was found in his fucking burn pit. And he said this man is guilty of sin. And he explains why. And he explains that Avery can't explain where he was in his timeline. He can't explain how her bones ended up on his fucking property. And he talks about the bullshit of trying to frame police officers who allegedly were so mad that they got busted, that the police department and the justice system over there got busted for putting a person in prison who should never have been in prison. This was a person who has credibility. He wrote about the false imprisonment. So when you read these two books, it totally moves away this very visually stunning thing that you've seen, that I was convinced that there was a miscarriage of justice. To this day, if you go on Twitter and type in that Avery was guilty, there is a cult-like following of people that will tell you that you're wrong. It's insane. So just because you see something that's really well made, there's like a minute-long footage of somebody going, here's all the problems with 9/11. And all of it is such bullshit. And it's said in a fast manner. It's said in about a minute. There's like 60 conspiracy theories shoved into a minute. And somebody's supposed to sit there and debunk these things. It's ridiculous and absurd. But I really don't get why Fuentes seems shocked that this audience, that these people around him, who've been calling every single incident that ever happens, from a pipe blowing up in Russia to political assassinations in other countries to, I don't know, earthquakes and hurricanes, on the Jews, that somehow, now that it's touched, a little closer to home, to Charlie Kirk, who he had the Groyper Wars against, somebody that I wouldn't say that he knows him personally, but he's familiar with, and now he's discovering low IQ anti-Semitism. Now he understands that it's stupid to just blame Jews for every incident. Don't you look at these people? Don't you look at the comments section? Don't you see who these fucking troglodytes are? I'm not saying he created them. I'm not saying he's responsible for them. But I don't know how he hasn't seen them. He seems to be annoyed and upset that these people are there. I don't know where he's been. I guess you just turn off. You take those fucking. I've sent in the what do you call it? The super chats. It's literally in the intro of my video. You see these fucking people. I don't know. And this is not like a major video on like America First and the things that they believe. I don't understand how you could not have seen this coming. I get that you're annoyed. I just don't. Yes, of course they were going to blame the Jews and Israel. They always do. Just like they did with 9/11. And you're wrong about it.
Go ahead, lose your head. Turn your back on me, get clapped and lose your legs. I walk around, gun on my waist, chip on my shoulder, till I bust a clip in your face. Pussy, this beef ain't over. Many man. Many, 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 many man.